Hello everyone, it's Wicked again, and we are here for another tutorial on how to draw. We're going to be advancing to more of an intermediate level of art, so should have gotten plenty of practice in from the other videos on how to draw and shade. And if you've been doing the homework, this should be pretty easy for you. So all we're going to need today is a pencil, whether it be regular or mechanical, an eraser, and today we're going to be drawing this green pepper. So we're going to start with just drawing it out, getting the basic shape. So I'm going to start up here at the top, and again, you make sure you sketch lightly. I'm going to sketch a little bit darker so that everybody can see, but we're just going to sketch out our basic shape of our pepper. Okay. So I'm just going to bring it over and do the same thing on the other side. And we're going to be going for a more realistic shading on this. So once we get down here to the bottom, we'll start adding a little bit more shape detail. So once I have that, it's my basic shape. I'm going to go ahead and come in here and start adding in these different bump shapes and things like that. So if we come here like towards the center, we can see it makes a shape, curves up, and it doesn't quite touch the top. It kind of curves over and dips down, so just try to capture that as best you can. Have a little slight curve here. Okay, then I'm going to make my second bump come out this way, and if you notice, I'm kind of going out past because we can make adjustments. Okay, comes back in, it goes down. I'm going to come back down here to the bottom and curve that up just a little. And then we have this part that's not really touching the floor, so we can kind of cut in right here and go back up. And I'm going to come back up here to the top, and I'm going to make our second bump shape over here. So I'm going to kind of curve it out. And go down a little straight. Once I get here to the bottom, I'm going to curve inward right here. And then we have a slight bump that comes out over here. And then we have one more coming over the side right here. And we have one smaller bump. Kind of attaches to this end piece, okay? So now we can clean up some stuff. So let's come over here to this side and clean up that edge. Let's clean up this outside over here. Come down here to this bottom down here. And remember, at any point in time, you need to pause the video to catch up, do so. Okay. I'm going to erase out this part on the bottom. I'm going to clean up this piece here on the side. Clean up in the center here. And that'll give us our basic pepper shape. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is get this stem in there, which kind of cuts right in between. So I'm going to kind of come up. And I'm going to go over, and then it kind of goes straight a little bit right here, starts to turn under and curve down. Okay, now I think we can make this a little bit taller, so let's go ahead and curve up a little higher and make it a little bit taller like that. And now we can erase this inside part. Okay, so now we have our basic pepper shape. So now we can start looking at the different areas. So if you kind of squint and close your eyes, you can see the darker areas of the picture. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut out some areas that our shadow is going to go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to draw a line out to here and follow up the edge of the pepper to about here. So we're going to have a shadow area in here. You also have a little bit of a shadow up in here, but if you look closely, there's like a area that is not shaded. It's got a highlight. So we want to kind of do that and bring that out to about here, and then round that back down like that. Okay. Now we did forget we have like a little bump here, so let's do this. Let's make another bump right here, and that whole area is actually dark right in there as well as this. Okay, so I'm going to keep going along this back edge. We have a little bit darker area here, and we have more of it that comes out and goes down like that. Okay, then I'm going to come down to this area. We got another highlight, so I'm going to stay close to the edge and kind of bring it down, and then just come back up and over, because we're going to go around those little highlighted areas. Okay, and we're going to come down this side here, up and around. So these are going to be our darkest areas of the pepper here. And then we have that highlight all along the top here, so I'm just going to come and re-follow that shape all the way over, so we should have it looking kind of like that. And down here towards the bottom, we're going to have a turn here, and then we're going to have another one right down here. Okay, so now we have all that set up, we can go ahead and start shading some stuff in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start hatching in this bottom area here. Remember, our hatching is just one directional lines, and I'm just going to follow that up, and I'm going to continue to do that for these other areas, making sure I stay within those shadow areas that we drew out. And I have this whole back region. Okay, and then this entire area back here. This upper region on the right. And then this area over here. And we do have a little bit that we can add in right over here. And we have our area that's over here as well. And we'll just finish off by putting in this right in here. So I'm just going to hatch that in. This will help give us a set base tone to work with. Okay, so now when I move down here at the bottom and finish off these last two, we're going to start moving into darkening and fading out to a lighter shade. Because if we look closely at the image, there's some light yellowy green looking areas, so those will still get shaded, it'll just be a much lighter tone. So I'm going to start down here closer to the bottom, and I'm going to cross hatch. I'm going to come across it and darken up this bottom area here, so I'm going to keep my line work close together. And as I work my way up, I'm going to press a little lighter, but still fill it in we have this right here, this line. The reason we can see that is not only because of the highlight, but that edge will have that darkness to it as well. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to darken this outside edge. Carry that on up to the top. Okay. And in these upper areas closer to the ledge here, I'm going to go the other way and I'm going to cross hatch in there and darken that area up. Okay. Especially down here in this area here, I'm going to go ahead and get this edge here. I'll darken that up. And then I have these outside edges here. Do it again right in here and follow this edge on down this way. And you want to kind of keep it light, so don't thicken it up too much, but we're going to go ahead and just bring that around. Okay, so I can come back in here and I'm going to slowly build up. So I'm going to start a little darker down here towards the bottom and close to this edge right here. And I'm going to come out. Now up in here, let's go ahead and do this. Let's lightly sketch these little highlight shapes, so that we know where they are. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but you get it as close as you can get it. Okay, this whole region here, kind of sketch in. It's like a crooked rectangle. Then right off this edge here is another highlight. Right in there. And here we have more of like a circular one right in here. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing that is because now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hatch in very lightly the rest of this part of the pepper. Okay, I'm going to come down here to this bottom part. I'm going to darken that up too. And then slowly I'm going to lightly hatch in this area. Again, they're just singular strokes. I'm picking my pencil up every time, going one direction. Again, take some practice, but you should have had plenty of that. Okay, carry that across. Now, some of this area is actually darker, but we're going to come back to that. Right now, we're just kind of getting a base light coat of hatching in here, that we can smudge it out and see what we have, and then go in and refine some of our shading from there. So again, remember, that's a highlight, so we don't want to get inside these areas. We want to leave those white. through here is a highlight also, so I want to kind of leave that white. Now this, because we got some scribbles in there, let's go ahead and erase that out so it's nice and white in there. So it should be a highlight. Okay, so now I'm going to slowly build this up after smudging. So I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to go over all this. I'm going to smudge it in. Be careful not to go inside. If you do, just simply erase it out. I'm just going to smooth out everything. If you need to, you can switch fingers so that you can fit everything in where you need to fit it at. Like these smaller areas, you can use your pinky. We're just going to smooth around these areas. And really try to blend it in. Okay. Again, we'll do our touch-ups a little bit. We just gotta finish smoothing everything in. Okay. So we have a nice base color now. So now I can come in here and really start going back over. So it's almost like coloring. I'm going to come back in here and build it up. Okay, I'm not pressing down hard. I'm lightly getting a darker tone in there. As I stay close to this line, I'm going to build up a little bit of darkness on this edge here. And fill this in. If you need to, when it's getting too scratchy, you can smooth it back out. And really push your colors up. Up in this area is a little bit darker, so we can fill those in with a darker tone towards this edge. Build out this direction, leaving that area kind of light over here. So I'm going to really come in here with that pressure now, smooth that out. And you can see I kind of went over that area. You can just take your pencil and erase out where the highlight is. Same thing up here at the top. If you need to, you can use a better edge from your big eraser. And kind of help get that stuff out of there. If you accidentally erase any of that dark edge work, just bring it back. Just making sure everything's nice and smooth. And then I can touch up any areas that I want outside. So I don't have any spillage from my smudging on the outside over here. Okay. So when we're refining this stuff, you really want to come back down to these darker areas that have the most shadow cast on them and start darkening those up. Again, staying close to this edge. Okay. And then just lightly really smooth in some of these areas. Like it's a little bit darker up here, so I'm going to darken that up. to start in those dark areas and then slowly start picking your pencil up on the way out to try to even it out some. Okay, so you can see we have a little bit of an easier transition. I can probably fill this in just a little bit more. Okay, so that takes care of that part of the pepper. Alright, so we're going to come up here to this darker region up here, and I'm going to go back over that and really darken that up. And it goes all the way to this top side. Because it's further back there in the back, there's not too much of a highlight. But you really want to make sure that you're keeping everything nice and smooth in that area. Okay. Again, at any time, you can clean up the edges so that you don't have that haziness going around it. Okay. Now I'm going to come back down here to this bottom area, and I'm going to hit that up a little bit darker. Now, as I come out from this, if we notice more throughout the middle, it's darker and we got that yellow tint. So I'm going to work my way up with kind of a mid-tone. And you can kind of scribble back and forth a little bit, just getting that shape in there. And as we work our way up towards in between here, is where we're going to get that nice darker tone in the middle there. Okay, so I can switch directions and fill it in more if I want to. It's really all based on what you're seeing with your eyes. Okay, and again, it's an immediate level, so we're going to push a little bit more than we did in our other videos, but not quite 100% getting there. Just kind of learning how to take it to the next steps. Okay. So once I have that, I use my finger again and really smooth that out so it's a nice even blending together. Okay, we don't want it to look like it has a solid shadowed edge in there. So we really want to just kind of smooth that out. Okay. Now this region up in here is going to stay that light tone, but we're going to kind of lightly, with kind of a gray tone, fill in this area a little darker. Okay, and then we're going to take our finger, probably your pinky is going to be your best bet, and smooth that back out. Again, it's okay if you lose the highlight a little bit, but you really want it to be rounded, okay, because we have kind of a rounded shape. So I'm going to take my eraser and bring back those highlights. Again, at any point, if you need to pause the video, you can do so. Okay. So I'm just really just trying to smooth everything out. You can use the residue that's on your finger to help with that. And now I'm going to take it over to this side here and lightly fill in that area. Really try to work in that color difference, because through here we got that kind of light patch a little bit. So I'm going to darken this very small area right in here where we're touching the edge. smooth all that out. Again, you can use whatever finger you want. It's no big deal. Any edges that you lose that you wanted to keep dark, you can just do that way. Okay, I'm going to bring back my highlight just a little bit. Okay, now this area up here at the top has a nice solid highlight too, so we want to stay really close to the edge. Again, you can use your eraser on your pencil too, but if you can get yourself a nice close edge, do it that way. And then you want to kind of shade it back as close to the edge as you can. It's a very thin highlight. Okay. So now we have ourselves this front area. Okay. I'm going to bring back this edge just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit up this back area, which is supposed to be dark. So I'm not coloring it in black, but I am going over it with a little bit of pressure. And then I can use that residue on my finger to help get it nice and dark back in there. And just smooth it out. Kind of go back over it a little bit again and really darken it up to try to match that area. So kind of a little bit of a trial and error, but you're really just trying to see those dark spaces. So if you have to bring back some of these edges and smooth your way out, that works too. Okay. Now we have this highlight in here. We have a slight darkness across the top up here, so we can kind of thicken that up a little bit with like a dark gray. And then we're going to bring that down into here. Alright, so again, I can smooth that out. It's okay if you go outside the line with your smoothing. So we can just touch that up when we're done. But you really want to blend that in. You can then clean up the outside edge. And then we want to get that highlight back down inside of here. So I can bring back my edges a little. Make them a little darker. And this region right in here is probably the darkest. So we can darken that up. Okay. So now we have this outside piece here, which we can actually, this area here we can erase out up to here where it's just got a little piece of it, and we can just smudge that area back in. And again, from time to time, just go around, clean up the edge of your picture, and hit up any edges that you lost. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here to this region here, and we're going to darken that up with a dark gray, just like it looks on our picture. Then, just like we did here, it kind of continues over. So I'm going to lightly come down in here and fill that area in. Just really looking for that little bit of a darker shadow shape in there. Okay, again, I can smooth that out. Again, you can use whatever finger you want, whatever works best to fit it in there. Just really smooth that out. Again, it's okay if you go over your highlight as long as you remember where it's at. Okay. So just really smooth it. Bring back this upper region a little bit darker. So I'm going to slowly work my way out. Okay, remember, if you lose any of your highlights, just simply bring it back to the edge of your eraser. Okay, so just really smooth out any areas that seem kind of scratchy. Then come back, clean up your edge work. Darken this top region a little bit. Okay, just got ourselves a nice little shadow variance going on our pepper. So now we can start working on our stem here. Okay, so the first thing we notice is this kind of edge here. It's very dark, so we can go ahead and darken that. And then we can carry a thin line down in there. This outside edge we're going to kind of leave alone because there's a little bit of a highlight in there. But we do have some dark patches in here, okay? So we can come in here and pick up on some of these patches, okay? And it kind of thins out and works its way towards the top. We do have a different kind of surface, so the highlights in here are not as noticeable. So we can go ahead and fill most of that stem in, and then just come back over those darker areas and darken those up. A little bit of a patch that comes out over here, and then we can lightly go over that outer edge and just clean it up a little bit from all your smudging. Okay. Now, a lot of this through here has that light yellowy color to it. So what we want to do is very lightly, very, very lightly, barely touch your paper and take your eraser and kind of lighten up those areas in there. It'll kind of put these streaking lines on your pepper stem, and then we can come close to some of these dark areas and refine it and lightly kind of push over it. So you're just going to kind of darken some of those areas. Again, this is intermediate. I'm not worried about trying to come in here and get every little grain line in there. Okay. So now we have a nice little shaded pepper. We want to put like a small ground shadow underneath. So since it has these weird shapes, we're going to kind of recreate that. I'm going to kind of bring them in and then bump them out. Okay, so I'm going I'll try to keep it somewhat even by going over this side. Okay, so a nice little round shape in here. So we're going to come in here and we're going to go ahead and hatch that shadow in. So now that we have some of that, come in here and smooth that out. Once you smooth that out, it's okay to leave a little bit of that fuzziness around the edge because it is a shadow. So if you need to switch fingers so that it'll blend a little better, it can help. Okay. Clean up around that area just a little. And then we got to come down to our base of where it is touching the ground, and we want to make that dark for sure. So that is the point where it is touching. Okay, and then we can kind of start down here with a dark gray, keeping it close to that line, so we're kind of building it out. So you can go over that as many times as you need to make sure it's filled in. If you need to give it a quick smudge, smooth it out, that's okay. And then as you work your way out, you're going to get lighter, so it's not so dark out on these fuzzy edges out here. Again, you can kind of just smooth that out if you need to. You can kind of reshape your shadow to fit however you need it to fit. Okay. And that is how we go to the next step. So what you would do is come around and refine. So any areas that you may have lost, you can lightly go back over them and make them stand out a little bit more. Okay. Any areas that just seem like they need a touch up, just go in and fix those. So that concludes our video on how to do an intermediary level of shading on a green pepper. So what I want you to do is try to find other vegetables or fruits and try to push yourself to add that little bit more detail to it. And as always, you can feel free to share that on my Twitter account at WickedArt5, and I'd be glad to see how you guys are coming along. So again, just continue to practice on other fruits and vegetables, and until the next video, just keep on sketching.